on there, Kevin Lynch?
Not much. How are you doing?
Bally Sports North. And I apologize. I watched part of the Wolves game yesterday and went on Twitter. I know your favorite social media outlet. Praised Michael Grady, who I think does a fantastic job with play-by-play. He had a wonderful line early in the game where it's like Ivica Zubats. He was under the weather up to the game and questionable to play. Well, after Jaden dunked on him, now he's sick.
I always love that
one. Well, man, that's a good line right there, man. I mean, he's playing really fast right now. Grady, we can talk about that later. Okay. So I don't know if did you have a black sport coat on yesterday?
I didn't work yesterday.
Okay, so see, I didn't know who did the pre and the half. And Marnie, we got Rebecca, we got Kevin, we got Quincy, we got Dave Benz. I mean, what's going on here? Mike Greenlay? I mean, seriously, like who's doing it? Okay, so I needed to know that. And then secondly, did you watch the game?
Yes.
Thirdly, do you have the Portland game tonight?
Yes.
Sorry to hear that. I mean, Portland sucks. No, well, they won 2 in a row.
Yeah, they beat Memphis.
Yeah, better take it seriously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Any
given Sunday, Kevin. Don't sleep. What's Simon's first name? Anthony?
Anthony.
Don't sleep on Anthony. Is Scooter Henderson? Is he playing these days?
He didn't play the last game.
Is it Scoot?
DeAndre Scoot Henderson.
Yeah.
And Ayton he was out last game, and Malcolm Brogdon out. And who else am I forgetting? Maurice Lucas. Dave Twardzik is out.
Do you remember? They're back.
Of course, Bill Walton is out.
Mid-70s, and you might be able to find this on the YouTube machine. I've never looked for it, and I'm like 9, 10 years old. So therefore, we can't fire up Chris Berman on Sports Center in the mid-70s. Information either came via the newspaper a day or two late from when it happened, or you waited for the carrier pigeon. It's one of the two to come with the scroll. Well, the carrier pigeon never arrived, and I can't remember how it's when the Sixers and the Blazers played in the NBA Finals.
77.
It was 77. Okay, so I'm 10. You're right around the same age.
Yeah.
Kevin Lynch, former Mr. Basketball in the state of hockey, and that's a separate conversation, but that's okay. He found a way to win in the first place. Played in the NBA with Larry Johnson. Don't add him, or Kendall Gill will dunk on you left-handed. Now, okay, so, all right, 3-2. Daryl Dawkins. All right, that was during he wasn't Dr. Duncan's. No, he was he Black Chocolate? Chocolate Thunder.
Chocolate Thunder from the planet Lovetron.
That's right.
That's right.
No, that's what it was.
Hey,
it was during the George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, Psychedelic Atomic Dog and all that. So I'm going to be Chocolate Thunder from the planet Lovetron.
Hey, but I don't know if you have a story to tell, but you should go on YouTube. I don't know if this video is still there. And I don't know if it was that NBA Finals in 77, but Maurice Lucas and Daryl Dawkins.
Here's the story. This is the touchdown.
Oh, you're telling the same story. Okay.
No, go ahead and tell it.
No, they got into a fight. And I don't remember
And somebody was so scared of somebody. What did they do?
Oh, Dawkins backed down.
He tried to run into the stands.
That's right.
He ran from him. Okay, Maurice Lucas, what up? So, you're over here messing with Twardzik. What's up?
Was that in that finals? That was in that finals?
Yes. And Daryl Dawkins, because that was during the time where Chocolate Thunder from the planet Lovetron was dunking and breaking backboards, and everybody thought it was funny. All right, well, the commissioner didn't think it was funny. It's like $50,000 per backboard, and that's in the 70s. So they had to get on him about that a little bit, but he's got Lovetron and Chocolate Thunder, and he's dunking on everybody. I got Dr. J. Dr. J might not even have been there at that time. He probably was.
No, he was with the Sixers. No, he played for the Sixers that year.
In the mid-70s? What about ABA, Massachusetts Minutemen terrorism?
By 77, he was with Philadelphia. He was in that series. In fact, he had those classic dunks on Bill Walton.
Oh, wow.
Where they got that one camera angle I think the camera was on the floor, and they showed Julius going the other direction, and he just rose up above Walton. Walton tried to block him. It's just a phenomenal dunk.
I become so tangential when you come in just thinking about different things. But so Dawkins, young, Lucas, veteran, thick, broad shoulders. remember Marvin Webster, the human eraser?
Yeah.
Like players like that at that time. Well, Lucas was having none of it. I don't care about Lovetron. I don't care about Chocolate Thunder. I don't care about the backboard breaking. I'm going to whoop your ass so badly right now in front of Brent Musburger and Gene Shue calling the game.
Is that who it was? It
Billy
was
Packer, whoever it was. Yeah, whomever.
I think it was Musburger, actually.
Yeah, but it probably.
There we go.
You are looking live at Daryl Dawkins getting his ass kicked for all the Tostitos. But yeah, so you remember that. But you mentioning Dr. J and the dunks on Bill Walton, skinny Bill Walton with the headband and the curly red hair all over the place before 19 foot surgeries. And yeah, I mean, Bill Walton in the 80s with the Celtics when he was the sixth man. I can't even imagine what went into just piecing that guy together to get him into these games for 18 minutes a game. But they were a meaningful 18 minutes for Walton and the Celtics, remember?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. He had that. So the 85-86 season, that's kind of a legendary Celtics team. Yep. That was with Walton, like you said, and they win the championship against Houston, starring Jim Peterson along the front line. Jim played against those guys in the finals. Anyways.
So Peterson was with Olajuwon and Sampson. And in that series, former Timberwolves assistant coach Jerry Sichting took a run at Ralph Sampson.
That's right.
And it looked like what you would see from the bubble gum, like when you unfurl the red, white, and blue thing, and it's a guy on the beach, and then the other guy who can't beat him.
Kicking sand in his face.
I mean, Ralph Sampson basically had a hand out, and Jerry was just swinging. It's just the cutest ever.
You know, Jim's got a great story about playing. I don't know if it was in that finals against Houston, but he said playing against Bird, Bird was kind of a legendary trash talker, and he said that he got switched out on Larry Bird at some point. At some point, I don't know if it was that series or some other time, but Bird. So Jim Peterson gets switched out on Bird. Bird's on the perimeter behind the 3-point line. Bird rises up and sticks a three, and then intentionally flicks the top of his head as he's following through with his right hand. So he takes the three, hits Peterson in the forehead.
Purposely.
And then as he's running backwards, he said to Jim has told me this story. He said, "Hey, Pete, I'm using your head like a gun sight." You got to ask Jim about that.
I've heard so much Larry Bird related trash talking from like YouTube stuff with Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas,
Xavier McDaniel.
Oh, Xavier. Yeah. But my favorite is when Larry Bird was late to the 3-point shooting contest, wherever it was, NBA All-Star Weekend. Where's Larry? We're about to start. Where he rolls in all frenzied, all late and everything. He's not panicking. He doesn't panic. There's no anxiety with the hick from French Lick. And he rolls in, and it's like 10 minutes away from starting, and he tells everybody you're all running for second. And then rolls out there, doesn't warm up, and wins the contest. Doesn't warm up.
With his shooting jacket on.
that
crooked finger.
Right. Remember those slick, the
short sleeve.
The satin or silk, like the warm-up jackets they used to have with the John Stockton shorts. So you mentioned Dr. J and Bill Walton and dunking on him and everything. For the NBA Finals, there for years, like when CBS, before Brent would do You Are Looking Live at a sold-out Boston Garden for all the Tostitos. And they would show the same highlights. And they all, remember, I think it's Landesberg or Mark Landesberg or
Landsberger.
Landsberger with the blonde hair.
Yeah.
I'm like, so let's say it's 81, 2, or 3. All right. I'm 13, 14, 15.
That sounds right.
I mean, I'm in full basketball mode. I'm watching everything and I'm playing it. So I was kind of like whomever the Rune Arledge is at CBS, can you find a better play for Dr. J than dunking or doing a reverse layup on, what was his last name?
Landsberger. From Mounds View. Landsberger's from Minnesota.
Are you kidding me?
No.
So was Billy Paul. Well, no, Mark Olberding.
Olberding and Landsberger, and they played together on the Gophers in the early 70s. They're about a year apart. So Olberding.
Was that like the time when they fought Ohio State and Musselman was the coach or whatever?
No, that big fight took place just before that. Then everything got cleared out, and then I don't remember when Jim Dutcher got hired as the coach, but then Landsberger came out like in 72, 73, then Olberding a year later, and yeah.
Okay, well, perchance there's a Landsberger family member listening now, misconstruing the conversation and taking it to Mark, and
you'll hear it through an email.
Hear it through the tweet vine.
Right.
The type of highlight they forever should have shown, like promoting NBA Finals, NBA whatever. If you want to show dunks, and if you want to show somebody really dunking on somebody powerfully, and it's not, let's say, Wilt Chamberlain against 18 Bob Cousies. It looks like the Wizard of Oz, and you got all these We're off to stop Wilt, the wonderful dunker Wilt. They're all running around him and everything with tulips. If you want to show one of those dunks, show John Starks. Baseline, left hand, Charles Smith of the Clippers. I think it was Charles Smith of the Clippers. Charles Smith played for the Knicks too. But John Starks, you remember that dunk? That left-handed dunk just hung over somebody's life.
I think he hung on the rim. It was one-handed, and then he was going so hard and fast, and he was twisting as he was hanging on the rim.
So thank you, Grady. Thank you, Mike, at Grady VAX. Thank you, Michael Grady. Because of your awesome line, Zubats was under the weather up to the game, and now he's sick because of McDaniels dunking on him. That triggered that whole conversation, and I happen to be quite happy about it because, with all due respect to favorite squad, okay, a half game out of first in the West, but 9 to noon has looked at this little junket of games, this series of games out of the All-Star break. It's a staycation. They got 7 consecutive games at home for a week and a half. That's a professional staycation. The comforts of home, which sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you can get nagged or bugged, or maybe things at home aren't as good as they are on the road.
Right.
So that plays into it too, but that's a conversation for a different time. It's from the beginning of that against Milwaukee, where they were decimated in the third quarter. All right, they're 3-3 on the staycation. They close with Portland tonight. Kevin Lynch, are you with Marnie?
Yes.
That'll be sweet.
Yep.
So we'll watch that this evening with Kevin Lynch and Marnie at 6:30. And we'll listen to Horton along with Grady during the game. It's good for business. Through the whole thing, victories over Memphis and San Antonio, two of the 5 worst teams in the NBA. Whatever, you know where we are. You're an elite basketball mind. That it's just not right. There's something off with this bad boy, and there has been ever since they came out of the break. Chris Finch, this time last week on this radio show, he joins weekly. I think he's going to be on tomorrow at 9. Finchy right out of the gate tomorrow. He commented that something's off with the offense. And I'm like, all right, well, is it a quick fix or like you got a problem here or whatever? And he didn't really say yes or no. Coaches are good at kind of talking around the situation. Maybe he didn't know.
Maybe he doesn't know. Yeah, that's right.
But something bro, we scored 88 points yesterday. 88 points in the modern day NBA. It's what do you think? What's off? It's not terrible, but it's something's off, don't you think?
Yeah. Yesterday's game was funny. You said you watched part of it or whatever, but they started off well in the first quarter.
I listened to the fourth quarter on a drive to a speaking engagement.
Yeah, so started off well in the first quarter. Towns was making shots. It's to me, it's kind of, I watch all these games, and so sometimes even for me, it's like it's kind of hard to put your finger on just one thing. Towns had a post up. This is in the fourth quarter. He had 2 open threes he missed.
Yeah.
He had a post-up jump hook with his right hand in his sweet spot that he almost always makes. He misses that shot. He had a drive on the other end going to the baseline with a little floater he almost always makes, misses all those shots. It's one of your best scorers not hitting shots. It's Edwards kind of dominating the ball and the ball not moving. I'm sure Finch he's talked about that a million times this year. It's guys, Conley didn't make a shot yesterday. So it's just like all this stuff kind of put together against a good team, this is what you get. So, but something, it's like the first quarter was going well and humming along nicely at the big lead. And then Norman Powell starts sticking threes left and right. You leave him open.
Yeah.
He gets revved up, and then the game completely changed after that. So,
hey, what is it when you're playing? All right, so hearken to the Charlotte days, the Gopher days, or maybe just a couple of Tuesdays ago at Lifetime Eden Prairie. And you're playing in quarters or halves, and you're battling your butt off, and then some guy who has the name where he should be your dentist or your stockbroker or your pastor or your accountant. And who's this? It's my friend Norman Powell. And right before half from 35 or whatever, or like right at the end of they hit one of those shots.
Yeah.
Those shots are big, man, because it's like the last thing you think about. It took a 5, made it a 2. Oh, by the way, 10 minutes ago, the 10 minutes real time or 15 ago during that quarter, the super comfortable scenario where what? How come we just have 3 points taken off the board? Right. Oh, Nas did what? Okay, that's cool. Those are the rules. When did it happen? Oh, 20 minutes ago. How does that happen? I mean, how does it take so long to like pull points? And by the way, you know, I've given them racetrack raised. It's all right. Well, there's quarter betting in the world of gambling. Okay, so say Nas hits that 3 in the first quarter, and they take it off the board in the second quarter. But like the first quarter, it helped somebody cover a point spread. Then you take the 3 off, and it didn't. I mean, the whole thing's weird, just how long it takes for it to happen. But those 3s right before halves or at the ends of quarters that leaves the crowd all wide-eyed, those work mentally on players sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. You know, Doug Collins, who I thought was one of the great basketball analysts on TV for a long time, he's retired now. I wish he was still working because he was great to listen to. But he always used to say that good teams, you know, the top teams, typically end of quarters, end of halves, end of games they just play well, you know. And when you're giving up 3s and making mistakes, typically that kind of shows inexperience or just a bad team for the most part. So, and sometimes it happens to good teams too. I mean, the Wolves are a good team this year. We know that. But that one at the end of the half, Norman Powell hits that runner from about 30 feet or whatever it was, and it goes in. It's just like demoralizing. Listen, one thing that the Wolves, and I think I've said this to you recently, Paul, but it's just one thing that the Wolves I kind of wonder where their heads are at as far as, you know, keeping things together when things aren't going well. Like in a playoff series and you're in game 6 and you're on the road in Denver in the Western Conference semis or final, whatever. And can you kind of hold it together and play maturely? Because Finch has said a bunch of times, you know, when the Wolves have not played well and lost a big game, how immature his team can play. So
and the ball gets sticky. It's like when they're Finch says a lot of the same things when things are getting a little topsy-turvy.
Right.
Yesterday, I don't know if you watched his press conference after the game, it took place more quickly after the game than it generally does. Because, like, I'm almost to the Highlands Church in Delano for a speaking engagement. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to watch Finch's bit when I get home. No, it happened right away.
Right.
And he was perplexed. I mean, I've just never heard Chris, and, you know, because he opens up and he opens a vein. He's very well spoken, has a great vocabulary. And he has that give and take with Edwards, where you can tell Edwards likes hard coaching. Edwards doesn't mind being said, that part of your game was immature and the ball got sticky, and he said it publicly. It seems like Ant really thrives off this surrogate father-son, coach, player, boss, employee type thing he and Chris have. But Chris didn't go down any of those roads yesterday. I mean, he didn't. And when he doesn't, or coaches don't, when they break a habit, that has been something that's been quite opening. An indicator to me, because I've watched a million press conferences in my life, is he's sensing this is not the time to push on this, okay? Because there might be a little combustibility. When you score 88 points, there's combustibility. With Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, when you score 88, and I know Kawhi's a good defender, and Paul George can be a good defender, and whatever, but still, 58 points over 3 quarters, 30 in the first quarter. Then you look Kawhi have 27 over the final 3 quarters. I mean, that whole thing's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, you know, one thing I admire about, and I know you've gotten to know Chris Finch a little bit.
I love the guy.
He's really candid.
He's very smart.
And he's, you know, he's honest. You know, you get head coaches, like I know when Sam Mitchell was here, how, you know, confrontational Mitchell when he was coaching the Wolves, how he could be confrontational with the media and kind of scolding you almost. And then you got, you know, Tom Thibodeau could be really difficult. He didn't want to deal with the media and all this kind of stuff. But Finch is really open, and he tells you, there's just not a lot of. He's a genuine guy when he gets interviewed. He just doesn't. He doesn't have some other agenda like he's trying to. So I just think that's a good thing. I like listening to him talk.
Me too.
So he's good.
Do you think? Edwards ball hogs too much?
Sometimes.
But do you think it's a problem? Like, go ahead.
Yeah, it can be a problem. And I think in certain games, I think yesterday's game, that happened a little bit where he just kind of holds the ball, gets sticky, as Finch says a million times, and there's just not enough ball movement. And that was one of the issues why they lost that game. It's just too much. The ball is moving when he's not in the game. And you kind of set that tone, and then but at the same time, you got to live with some of that too, because he's one of the better players in the NBA as far as isolating and getting something done, as far making a shot or getting to the free throw line. So you got to live with those moments too. So, but yes, at times he gets a little too ISO oriented.
Okay, now Friday. All right, so you lose Edwards at halftime. Birth of a child, he has to leave. Domantas Sabonis. Did you work Friday?
No.
But you watched, right?
I watched it, yeah.
Yeah, Domantas Sabonis was so by far the best player in that game until he got in foul trouble. And, the little things that he does, he must be a coach's dream. It's like he may not get the rebound, but you're sure not going to hold on to it, tips it away. Malik Monk picks it up, drains a three. Little taps of balls coming, skip pass, it just little tips. He just does the little things as well as anybody that I've seen in the NBA, this season. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so Sabonis is dominating the game. He gets in foul trouble. Ant leaves at half. So there's a brilliant opportunity against Harrison freaking Barnes. All right. Now, Harrison, he's Tar Heel immortality, and Harrison can play the game. All right. He's a veteran. He's seen his better days. Harrison's a good player.
Right.
He's a squared away, good, strong, steady player. Amen on that?
Yes.
All right. Bro, this is your chance to be an alpha. There's no Ant. You are the alpha. The rest of the world is that of the omega. Show us. And it was the flailing elbows and the vow, and it just wasn't alpha-esque, and he wasn't getting doubled. Okay, thank heavens McDaniel scored 26 and hit 5 threes, but then of course his offense disappears the next game because that's who he is. But nevertheless, I shouldn't say disappointed or frustrated because I just don't. He's not an alpha. Okay, Karl Anthony Towns is paid like a 1. He's not a 1. He's not a 1 for anybody in the NBA this side of the Detroit Pistons. And Cade Cunningham might push him for that honor. So there's room for Cat in the NBA like there was for Pippen and Klay Thompson and James Worthy and Alvin Adams and Roy Tarpley and Brad Davis and Jim Paxson, and we can go down the list, right? There's room. And God bless you for getting the money. That's cool. But there was an Omega opportunity on Friday, and he was not the Omega. There was an Alpha opportunity on Friday. Instead, he was the Omega man. Copyright Charlton Heston. I want to talk about that more, Carl, and some more Wolves topics with Kevin Lynch from Bally Sports North when we continue.
KFAN, The Fan.
Because it seems, I'm not going to say I know, but it seems the Timberwolves, they have a chance. They have a chance to do some damage in the Western Conference in the postseason. This is not a complete by front court faith that I'm taking that leap. We've seen it. The games against Boston, and they beat Denver earlier this season. We have seen moments this season where you're like, yeah, that's it. That's a team that can get to the Western Conference Finals and give somebody a headache. That ain't the case right now. So, like, when I say that about Cat, I mean, I don't mean it to be a professional affront where I'm like, he's not a one seed or he's not a go-to alpha one on any team in the NBA, with the exception of Detroit, and I think Cade Cunningham or your guy Killian Hayes might push him for his money. And that's a joke. But nevertheless, there's more that goes into being an alpha than A, the money you make, and B, what your box scores look like. It's the cliche dog bit. It's like the dog in somebody. And there have been myriad times that Carl's had the opportunity to be that alpha in a game where Anthony didn't play or somebody else didn't play. And he just does not consistently come through with a performance that is that of a dog, the cliched dog, and you win the game. And then you get to McDaniels, where, I mean, there are two things on which I've been harping. That's a strong word, but on which I've been focusing and thinking about casting the gaze the way the playoffs for the Wolves. McDaniels inconsistent scoring and Connolly beating guys off the dribble. All right. Now, I mean, Mike Conley, it's wonderful floor general, unbelievable on Barrero, bumper to bumper with Barrero when I hear him. Great interview. You know, and maybe, you know, there's a minutes deal here or like he's in, he's out. One of the first guys, it's the whiplash some of these guys get when the freaking horn sounds. It's like they whip their heads over to the score. That's got to be me, right? Okay, cool, I'm in. Bro, enough with the whiplash, man. Seriously, you're in the NBA. That's for high school or junior high. You know what I mean? The whiplash, like, am I coming out? But Conley consistently beating guys off the dribble.
Oh, tell me more about that. I don't. You
tell me. Does he do it?
Oh, you're saying you don't like the fact that he doesn't do it as much as he should, or he can't?
I'm not saying that because I would have to critically watch it play after play after play after play, and I ain't getting into the all 10 in NFL draft season. But it's Conley at this stage of his career, postseason, frenzied, intensity's higher. He ain't going to get doubled. Beating players off the dribble to create for others. Don't you think that's maybe he does it every single play and I'm just missing. I mean, that's a major key.
I guess I don't see it that way. I mean, he looks like, because with Edwards in there and when Edwards drives, you have your guy in the lineup to do that with force.
Okay.
It can make a lot of, I haven't gotten that impression from Mike Conley that, I mean, he's been shooting a career high in threes, so that's good. That's going to open things up. But to me, you got, especially Edwards, I guess that's the main guy as far as the driver. But could Mike Conley get to the basket a little bit more? Yeah, he could, and he does get there, and he throws lobs to Gobert once he gets into the paint a little bit. So I haven't noticed that as much. When's the last time
you saw Conley beat somebody off the dribble, go to the basket for an and one, get crushed, and go to the line? I mean, maybe that's just not part of it. He doesn't do it a lot.
Well, yeah.
Plus, I'm missing it.
Yeah, that's just not part of his game. I mean, are you saying like you want the Wolves offense to isolate him?
No,
are you saying pick and roll? They'll bring they bring Gobert up and then Conley gets into the lane.
I see what
so there's
you're saying.
Situations like that where Conley gets into the lane like that, and he's either lobbing it or he's using his right hand to kind of throw up a scoop shot.
I'm out of my lane here on this because I'm thinking one-on-one matchups, a point guard, a quarterback for an offense, and in essence, if you can't beat your guy one-on-one off the dribble consistently to dish to others or get to the hoop. Okay. Over the long play course of time, I would find that to be a liability if that is your situation. I'm not saying it is. Forget it. I was out of my lane. A bad talker. But McDaniels, consistent scoring.
Yes.
That's not a bad talker.
No.
In fact, a week ago when I had Finch on, the last question I asked him was if God or whomever gives you with Jaden McDaniels, guaranteed, promise, you're going to have this, so it ain't going to change. 12 points and 3 made threes every single game the rest of the time you have him. Would you take it? I mean, it took him a half second to say, yep, in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Like this, like that, especially the 3 threes.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going to get that so that kind of laid out, you know, the baseline or maybe the higher expectations of what's needed from Jaden. But I hit on those two topics because I just see it coming, man. And you've seen playoff basketball more, as much, if not more, than me. Stuff's different. It's called differently. Ant's going to get beaten up. Carl's still not going to get calls and still's going to yell, "Ow!" And then they're going to click on him for another 3 quarters. So yeah, I'm ready for all that. But like I watch Norman Powell, man, just like I used to watch Lou Williams or Jordan Clarkson or some of these guys who come off the bench. And I mean, how badly could we use somebody?
Oh, man.
Torian Prince, they thought maybe could be that, but he's, I mean, just like a guy like that, you know?
Vinny Johnson.
Microwave. We gotta go there.
Yeah, no,
Scott Wedman.
Yeah, well, I know, like maybe a month ago when I was here and we were talking about, maybe it's before the trade deadline. Yeah, we were talking about this, and I thought Malik Monk
you said that.
for the last 2 years. I've been last 2-3 years. You know what's funny about Monk? He went to Kentucky, comes into the NBA. I think Charlotte drafted him.
Yeah,
and I just
gave up. Yeah, Lakers gave up.
Exactly, and it's like
unbelievable.
You know what's funny about it? There's just certain guys that I just like. Bradley Beal about 4 or 5 years ago. I just started. He's been an all-star player up to that point. Whatever, but there's just particular players I kind of pay attention to as like a season will go on. And I was doing it with Bradley Beal when he was having huge seasons with the Wizards like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
And then, but Malik Monk has been one of those guys the last 2-3 years. I just kind of pay attention to him kind of quietly. And I thought, God, the Wolves could use a guy like this coming off the bench, especially this year. But,
all right. Well, Friday, I was at the game. Friday is the first time I've attended a game and watch Malik Monk live. So like how he moves off ball screens, how he sets others up with, like I'm running slowly and now I take off and down comes Len for the pick and you didn't know it was going to be there and I got a wide open three in the corner. Just the nuance of the game. Well, I had no idea Malik Monk was that good off the dribble and that good with the stop and go in the key. I mean, De'Aaron Fox was a late scratch. All right, so Malik came in after they got through this Keon whatever bit. He's not going to play long. Davion Mitchell is their backup, so they're going to use him, but they wanted him off the bench. That's just his Samari. What's his Samari? Well, it's his role. Well, now they got no De'Aaron Fox. Okay, so we're going to have Malik run the De'Aaron plays, like the little hesitation, free throw line extended, bounce pass in the key to DeMontis, draw the foul. I thought when I was in junior high, they said no bounce passes in the key, coach. Well, that was junior high. This is Malik Monk. I had no idea how good of an overall basketball player Malik Monk was till I watched him live the other night.
Yeah, he's just he's a guy that can carry you. Like once he gets revved up and starts making shots, and he's a streaky guy, but it seems like he's in the prime of his career right now. So it's not surprising.
And his contract's up at the end of the year, I think.
Oh, how do you know that? Are you serious?
There's something called the internet, and then you like MALIK.
That runs on electricity, right?
CONTRACT.
Oh, yeah.
Stop playing Pong and at least advance to the asteroids, Space Invaders era.
Donkey Kong.
I'm really one to talk. I don't have Venmo, and I still have AOL. All right, so in closing, ain't nothing but a Lynch thing, right? Have a good day. I'll watch on TV tonight.
All right,
I got a Kawhi thing I want to get into, but it'd take too long. He's a killer. If you don't kill Kawhi early, he'll kill you.
I actually have a good Bobby Jones, Daryl Dawkins story. I'll tell you another time, but it's a pretty good story.
Is it on the microphone or off the microphone?
No, on the microphone.
Oh, good. Kind of like Rod Strickland and my former high school teammate Tracy Murray playing together for Washington.
Yeah.
And there was a woman involved, and Tracy opened his door of a road hotel, and Rod just punched him in the face. Like one of those stories?
No.
Jason Kidd and
no, it was
James Jackson.
A shattered backboard was involved, and Billy Cunningham was the coach. And yeah, you'll like it.
Billy Cunningham is an analyst with Brent. A+. Him, Doug Collins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who was my guy who wore the plaid pants, used to coach the Buffalo Braves? Lou Saban. No, Ramsey. Jack Ramsey?
Jack Ramsey.
Hey, how about Jack Ramsey?
Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Dr. Jack Ramsey
That's
calling games on the radio back in the day?
He actually, there was a connection. I think it was T.R. Dunn was one of the assistant coaches when I was with Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And so T.R.'s a great guy, and he coached for a long time, had a long playing career too. And I think, I don't know what year it was, when I was with the Hornets, we were in training camp, and our coaches, including T.R. Dunn, brought in Dr. Jack Ramsey to help out during our training camp. He's a good guy.
And his granddaughter,
rest in peace,
you met 3 weeks ago, Rachel Ramsey.
Yes, that's right. Pronger with a ponytail. Is that what you call her?
Yeah. No, Peyton Pritchard with a ponytail. All right. Love you, bud. See you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Kevin Lynch, Bally Sports North. We put
KFAN, The Fan.
All right, the Scribe's here tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Ben Gessling. Like I said, he's dialed into this Kirk Cousins situation from the Combine. When we were setting this up this morning, we were texting a little bit. He asked me a question. I asked him a question. And it's just like a question that I hadn't heard involving this whole ordeal. And it is an ordeal. So Gessling tomorrow. And I said earlier, he's doing a really, really good job being dialed in with the state of the skull, state of the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation. I just wonder if when I said that, if YA, young Alec, had been listening, do you think he sat back and said, am I?
I always love that one.
Do I?
I always love that one.
I do a good job, too.
I always love that one.
There's got to be some friendly competition among the Scribes.
Alec does a great job.
In the end, they all got to work with each other, but they are in some ways competing.
Of course.
It's the clicks game now. So.
Of course. So that's tomorrow. We'll have much more planned for you, including, we believe, Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, making his weekly stop in the Love Covenant. That's when we all rise and shine at 9 tomorrow for the Love Covenant at FM 100.3 KFAN. I'm Paul Allen. Thank you very much for listening. A pleasure serving you today with this microphone. And likewise for the producer, Eric Nordquist. He's Nordo by day, juice box by night. And when he raps at the myth, well, it goes a little something like this.
And I get those juice boxes from Casey's, by the way. And you'd sign up for Casey's Rewards. You got deal on food and fuel, all of those things. Medium fountain drink for just 49 cents when you pair it with their delicious sandwiches, the spicy chicken, the quarter-pound Angus cheeseburger. All of that's at Casey's. You know Casey's. You love them. Go there today. Maurice Lucas, Rock'em Sock'em, Daryl Dawkins. There have been stranger things like in the city of Hawkins. KOC annoyed with all the illegal talking. Coach floating the vibe that the quarterback is walking. And next week, it all comes to a head. Thank goodness. These talkers have me dead. Getting so tired of this rudderless speculation. Has me pondering self-immolation. Not really. Excuse the hyperbole. But I'm ready to yell domino with jubilee. Time to make big decisions for better or worse. It's all good. But just in case, warm up the hearse. Now we're moving on to a positive note. Wolves have the Blazers tonight. Chance to plug the hole in the boat. Run the offense ragged. All the points you can muster. Tonight we're using Portland as our slump buster. He ain't heavy. He's a punter. That's 9 to noon.
Podcast today's Paul Allen